Good morrow, scholars. Welcome back to Blood of the Dead. I almost wasn't going to record today because I have a lot of stuff I need to move out of my room. I mentioned before my brother is back, so I'm going to give him one of my dressers that I have over here. I just need to move all my containers out of the way, and I need to rearrange the stuff over here. And I have too many Nerf blasters down over here. I kept them under my bed. I gave him my bed frame also. If you see my shelf over here, it's actually another bed frame. Anyway, if you have any suggestions on what I can do with all my stuff, let me know down in the comments. And please try to be constructive in your criticism. Anyway, we are in chapter 19 on the way up, page 129, which doesn't bother me that much. Unable to get around the cars, the three made their way uphill away from the river. The first order of business was to get out of there before having a small reunion. Billy and Des walked ahead, Joe trailing behind. They were talking about what just happened, but too softly for him to get in on the conversation. Not that he wanted to. The gloating look Des gave him as he used the iron pipe like a crowbar to pry the dog's teeth out of his boot-loosened mouth. It clearly read, "How's that for a heroic entrance? See, I can be cool too." I don't know, I think he's feeling like his alpha status is being challenged when he's saying that. Or maybe he was reading too much into it. Whatever the case, Des was now the hero, and Billy looked at the guy with star-filled eyes because he had saved her life. Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, it's probably a little bit of both, but I think it's mainly that way. Despite not wanting the thought to be there, it was. I saved her life too, and she didn't look at me that way. As if he wanted her to. There was only one girl for him, and she was dead. But there was a piece of April in Billy, that same carefree spirit, the kind that seemed rooted in disguised insecurity, the kind that took pleasure in the small things, the important things. Where was I? Oh. Des walked boldly, tapping the iron pipe on an open palm, as if telling any onlooking zombies to come get some. That guy's gonna get slaughtered if he's not careful, Joe grimaced. I can't believe Billy is falling for it. She's smarter than that. Right? Relax, you don't know her. You shouldn't even care. But he did. Where were you? Billy said loud enough for Joe. Or loud enough so Joe actually felt part of the conversation. I called and called, Des said. Didn't you guys hear me? I wasn't that far behind you. Joe picked up his pace, so he was right behind them. We didn't hear anything. You guys deaf? Des asked. No, we didn't hear you because there was nothing to hear. I must have yelled at the top of my lungs. Don't forget, we were also moving along a moving river. Wind was blowing through the trees. Lots of ambient noise. Des was about to reply, but seemed to be considering the last part. Means background noise, Billy said quietly. I knew that. Still, I think you should have paid more attention. They reached the top of the hill. A wall of trees concealed whatever was beyond, likewise what was off to either side. The three stopped. Billy and Des caught their breath. Joe was fine. His body was used to being active. I'm not. Did you see anything in the woods? Joe asked. No, did you? Des replied. Just the dogs. Where'd you get that? Billy asked, gesturing toward the pipe. Side of the road. Looks like someone warmed it up for me. See? He held up the pipe and showed the dried blood on its hands peeking out from the fresh blood glistening on it. You should really clean that off, Billy said. Why? Kind of a badge of honor, don't you think? He shot back. Do as she says. The undead can smell blood. It's what attracts them to us. Has to be anyway. Even if that was so, this is undead blood on this thing, remember? Should be fine. Do it anyway, don't take any chances. Why, Joe? You scared? Okay, now he's starting to be... yeah. Whoa. Billy said, putting her palms up and taking a few steps back. Uh-oh. You want to run that by me again? Joe said, taking a step toward him. Just saying that you take things a little too seriously. All grim and dark like some kind of Batman. How dare he insult Batman? Do you forget how long I've been doing this? It's not unreasonable to assume that I know what I'm talking about. If you did, you wouldn't have needed me to save you. Yes, Billy said firmly. That's it. Time to set this guy straight. You killed some dogs. Good. Billy and I are alive. Good. But don't start going around thinking you can take on the whole world, one filled with creatures that are far stronger than you, just because you killed a few pups. Gus's green eyes bore into him. I don't know why you're being such a jerk to me. Yeah, Joe, Billy said. He saved your life. And mine. Don't start, Billy. His head's full of hot air right now. It's gotta stop now or we'll all wind up dead. So you're gonna blame it on me if something happens to us? Des asked. No, Joe said. But you gotta come down off your throne and get back to the real world. I'm only going to ask you to do this once. Or what? Think you can jump? Balled up his fist and sent it into Des's nose. I'm just gonna say gag. Des muttered, dropping the pipe and covering his face with his hands. Dark red liquid leaked out from between his fingers. Billy was at his side in no time, one arm around his back, the other catching the blood dripping off his hands. Beep, you, she shouted. Joe ground his teeth. Fine. He stormed off up to the trees. Behind him, Billy whispered words of comfort to Des. In front of him, he didn't like what he saw through the trees. A cemetery. A cemetery would actually be somewhat good because, you know, quiet, long dead bodies. You might be able to find a way to regroup because there wouldn't be any like zombies roaming around unless they're magical in nature and that's how they like climb up out of their coffins, caskets. I guess it depends on the setting you're in. Chapter 20. At the top of the stairs. August sat on the top step with his back against the makeshift barricade next to the door at the flight of stairs leading up to the roof of the Richardson building. It should hold. Before he had opened the rooftop door, he had taken a desk from one of the offices on the top floor, emptied its contents, dragged it up to the top of the stairs, and went about filling it with as much paper as possible. He did the same with a couple of filing cabinets before bringing up a couple of chairs to lock things in place once he was done. Now the door jerked on its hinges as the undead outside banged against it. The entire rooftop was covered with them. Who knew how long they'd been up there, but the way they charged at him the moment he peeked his head out the door. He was lucky to move fast enough to close it and shove the desk in front of the door before they could break through. The filing cabinets were the hardest to move, even just the 1 foot from where he placed them right up against the desk. The chairs were easy, but those zombies, their eyes buried in deep and decayed sockets, were white and bloodshot. Bloody drool oozed from the corners of their mouths. They were hungry. Yet that wasn't what bothered August most about what he saw. There was something else. Okay, I know that I like cliffhangers, especially in this series and Survive the Night, but that one, I think, this isn't a good example of a cliffhanger. Let's see, Chapter 21. the cemetery. Jerk, Death said right after Joe disappeared between the trees in front of them. Yeah, you said it, Billy said. Quietly. Did I do anything wrong? Nuh-uh. Did I say anything? No. Man, did his nose hurt. Death slowly pulled his hands away. Blood was pooled in his palms. If blood really does attract him, now they're going to... Never mind. What was it? Oh. Blood was pooled in his palms. He shook them out, then checked his nose. The bleeding seemed to have stopped. He pinched the bridge and tilted his head back, just in case. Don't do that. You gonna be okay? Billy asked. I'll live. His voice all nasally. A soft ringing bounced from one side of his brain to the other, back and forth. Joe had popped him hard, but obviously not hard enough to do some serious damage. Whether that was intentional or not, he didn't know. The guy had no right to get all upset. He had been the one who saved him. Zombie Wrangler? Not today. More like Zombie Smacker or something. It still felt good, though, until I tried those deranged dogs. Think we should go after him? Billy said. It'd be better if we didn't, but we can't leave him alone despite what just happened. I hate being all moral inside. Might as well. Dude will get himself killed if we don't follow. I don't know. He's got a gun. Yeah, well, he bent down and picked up the iron pipe. We got a bat. Didn't sound as clever as it had in his head. He pulled his fingers away from his nose and checked for blood. It seemed to have stopped for good. He wiped his nose on his shirt and then gestured to Billy for them to get going. They went up the trees, or up to the trees, sorry, parting the jagged branches with the hands and pushed through. Just on the other side was a chain-linked fence. I'm gonna put a poster right there, and I think one up there. Sorry, I'm not used to the thing. Anyway. And just beyond that was a graveyard. Cemeteries always got the best of deaths. When he thought about them, he only envisioned a few tombstones, a couple shrubs, and some flowers. Every time he saw one up close, and he'd only been to 2 real funerals in his life, he was always reminded how serious a business death was. Everybody wound up in a place like this at some point or another. Everybody had their place amongst the sea of graves. Just another number in the long, long list of life gone bad. He always pictured his grave as out in the open, the tombstone a lone marker on a hill, a few daisies and small pottered vases on either side of the stone. But he realized, looking out on what had to be over 1,000 graves, his would more than likely be in a place like this. His tombstone just one among many, passed by without second thought by everybody not there to visit him. And even if humanity did pull through this season of death, none of his family was left, or his friends. And so far, aside from Billy, he hadn't made any new friends either. Relationships had never been his strong point. He'd only had a few friends while growing up, but even those relationships were distant, as if those guys never really wanted to get close to him, but only wanted to use him for his Nintendo. I can understand that. Need help? He asked her, one hand on top of the bar of the fence. Or on the top bar of the fence, there we go. I got it, she said, and climbed over. He tossed the iron pipe to the other side, hopped over, then picked it up. He scanned the cemetery. See him? No. Should I call? And wake the dead? She gave him a dismayed look. Sorry, couldn't help it, he said, smirking. I honestly would have said the same thing. Or at least something similar. Where was I? At walked slowly between a row of graves, their eyes going between the plots and the rest of the cemetery beyond. Cemetery? Juicebox hero. What? I don't understand. He sang softly to calm his speeding heart. Billy stopped and turned to him. What? Huh? What are you singing? That Juicebox Hero song, he said, not believing she hadn't heard it before. What? You know, Juicebox Hero. Uh-oh. Oh, wait, hang on. I don't know. Do I? No. She huffed and rolled her eyes. It's Jukebox Hero, Des, and walked past him. He stayed there a moment. I thought it was Juicebox Hero. He shrugged and whistled the melody as he caught up to her. Once they cleared the first section, there we go. Des's heart skipped a beat when they entered the next. The dry yellow grass. It'd be funny if the grass and trees turned into zombies. On top of some of the graves was torn up soil, and a few shards of wood lay scattered atop the dead blades. Do you believe this? He said. She didn't seem to hear him, her eyes transfixed further down the line. He tugged at her shirt and only now saw the thick lines of blood running up from her waist to just under her arms. What? I feel like I missed an entire sentence. Morning! What was that? She didn't seem to hear him, her eyes transfixed further down the line. He tugged at her shirt and only now saw the thick lines of blood running from her waist to just under her arms. Okay, what happened? She followed his gaze to her t-shirt. Oh, I had a problem with a few broken boards. It's nothing. She winced as she bent from the left to the right. I'm assuming like that. That actually hurt my back. I don't know why I did that. Where was I? I don't remember. Iggy, what are you doing? You sure? Yeah. My family can be so rude sometimes. Anyway, where was I? He cleared his throat. Do you see this? He pointed with the plank to one of the torn-up graves. Billy took a step closer to examine it. The rain must have gotten to them too. How? I'm only guessing, but it probably soaked into the earth and got in between the cracks in the cement casings that hold the casket. I'm also betting some of these graves are just a wooden box buried in the earth. The really old ones, anyway. She checked the tombstone. Yeah, see? Elizabeth Martin, born 1804, died 1868. This one's 140 years old. That's heavy duty, man. You're telling me, if it's really that old, there shouldn't be a body to reanimate. Think any of them are walking about? I mean, around here? She looked around. Don't see any, but you never know. If there were any, they're probably en route to the Haven like the rest of them. Which is why we better get moving. The highway's just over there, right? She nodded straight ahead at them. Yeah, heads up to the Disraeli. I don't know. Then it should be just up and over twice, and we're done. That's a long bridge to walk, Joe said. Speaking of which, where is he? Those idiots better follow me. I'm not going back for them, Jim muttered as he made his way between a row of graves. Already having taken note of several he saw with stirred-up tops, he had the X-09 drawn at the ready. He shouldn't have hit Des, despite how much the guy deserved it. And it wasn't even that. A shot to the face for acting like a jerk, that kind of thing didn't merit a bleeding nose. But jerks did. He'd encountered too many in his life, the last real one being Dan, April's boyfriend, or ex-boyfriend, or whatever he had become to her after that glorious weekend together. Dan had been your typical tough guy, the kind that bullied upon the girl. He'd even hit her once, April told him. What drove Joe nuts about the whole thing was that April had taken him back on the promise it would never happen again. And Joe had no way to verify if it didn't happen again either. Smacking Des was just a knee-jerk reaction, nothing more. Yet Joe didn't feel the need to apologize. If the guy thought he could handle himself and Billy out there alone, fine. Let them see that fighting the undead wasn't a joke, and unless you knew what you were doing, they'd take you in a second. Wait. They already knew that. He'd saved them. Twice. Joe passed by a mausoleum where banging and muted groans came from behind its stone door. At least those ones are trapped, he thought. He turned around and surveyed the cemetery for Des and Billy. There they were, 4 rows over and 2 sections behind, just 2 dots amongst a plethora of tombstones. Another dot was moving slowly toward them, then another, then another. Dun 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 dun. I don't know. I'm not going to wander around the cemetery till tomorrow looking for him, Des said. Billy didn't have to look at his eyes to know he was dead serious. Des spun the iron pipe with his wrist, then planted one end of it on the ground. No, you won't have to. We'll just keep going toward the highway. He's probably standing there waiting for us. You think? Probably. He seems a decent enough guy to not leave us hanging despite how cold he is sometimes. Wonder why he's like that. Billy thought back to her chat with Joe in his kitchen, and the way his eyes went vacant when he talked about his old life. Just don't think we need people like that right now. You know as well as I do that people need to get together when crazy stuff like this goes down, Des said. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw someone approaching them. Still mad at Joe, she didn't feel like looking up at him right now. Shh, he's coming. Des must have felt the same because he didn't look up either, not until the humanoid shadow came up behind him and wrapped both hands around his neck. Whoops. Hey, quit it. Where do you... He twisted himself around trying to wriggle out of the hold. Instead his hands held on. Or the hands held on, sorry. Get off. Des! He shrieked, dropped the pipe, and grabbed the pair of wrists attached to the hands with the gray and dead fingers around his neck. The zombie must have been a local because it wore a dark navy suit that appeared to be from the 40s. Its owner's had a shrunken skull with a couple of tufts of black and dried curly hair. The face was all sunken in, its eyes deteriorated to nothing. Just black, vacuous holes in a crusty gray, patchy-skinned skull. Billy shot out both arms and drove them between Des and the zombie, attempting to use them as a crowbar to pry the two apart. More shadows. 3 more undead, all in outdated clothes, were drawing near to them. With a grunt, she shoved her elbow into the zombie's chest with one arm and the palm of her hand into Des's, moving him away. Run! Sorry, she shouted, and she and Des turned tail and darted away from the Walking Dead. I like that show. Des doubled back. What are you doing? She screamed. He grabbed the iron pipe off the ground and zipped back toward her. They poured on the speed and leaped over a pair of tombstones and kept cutting across the rows, running, leaping, running, leaping, until it felt like she was flying. Another leap at the next set and flunk. Her toe caught between a pair of headstones and her body went horizontal. I wouldn't be jumping around. Try and avoid anything that might result in you like twisting your ankle or breaking a leg or something. So no more jumping. Anyway. The next moment she slammed her chest first into the ground, the bottom of her chin smacking into the packed earth beneath the dead grass, and sending her bottom teeth across the tip of her tongue. Her mouth filled immediately with blood. Tears springing to life, her vision went, and all she could see was the blurry yellow-brown of the dry grass and the dark lines of shadow running in between the blades. When she looked up, a murky figure was running on ahead. Des didn't seem to have noticed she fell. Sorry. She seemed to be tripping a lot lately. Maybe she had been pushed so past her limit that even her coordination was giving out on her. She tried to cry out, but instead only produced a semblance of his name, followed by a gush of blood from her mouth. Fire lit the tip of her tongue, and she wondered how bad the damage was. Hand to her mouth, she flinched when her fingers touched the sensitive flesh. Unable to help herself, she dragged her caught foot off the tombstone and let it thunk against the grass, and then sobbing, got on all fours. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Footsteps on the grass. Des? She glanced up. An undead hand with bruised fingernails reached down toward her and grabbed her by the back of the neck and jerked her to her feet with remarkable strength. Shrieking, she plowed her fist into the side of the man's jaw. The bone so brittle that the jaw broke and just dangled there to the right side, hanging on by a few purpley gray ligaments. She shoved the zombie away and ran like a mad woman, screaming, arms flailing, not caring if she looked like an idiot. Wiping her eyes with the bottom of her shirt helped clear her vision a little, but it still didn't help the inferno inside her mouth. The blood filled her mouth so badly she had to spit every few seconds as she ran, each spurt of crimson mucus either landing on her shoes or, because of the wind caused by her sprint, splashing back onto her in sticky strands. Des was nowhere to be seen. She cried out his name, thought she heard cursing somewhere to the left, but was quickly distracted when 2 rows over, a throng of 20 or so undead moved between the headstones, a few of them stumbling over the markers. The highway. Where was the highway? I have no idea. Spitting, then gathering her focus, Billy forced herself to slow down enough to get a clearer look around. There. The road was just ahead and over to the left. Where was Des? Giving it all he had, Des swung the iron pipe into an old fat woman's head, the heavy end lodging itself into the skull, and sending up a sploosh of blood like a basket of eggs getting smacked off a T-ball stand. Another heavy-set woman came in from behind, this one much younger, maybe even this old one's daughter. Des whirled around and brought the pipe down like an axe onto the woman's head, passing through her curly blonde hair and delivering 15 pounds of iron into her brain. She dropped to her knees, fell forward, and pipe still lodged in her head, clawed toward him on all fours, trying to get a piece of his ankles. Des yanked back hard on the pipe, the motion strong enough to dislodge it, but also enough to throw him off balance. He landed hard and fast on his butt. The blonde took hold of his foot and pulled it toward her mouth. About to sink her teeth into him, her head suddenly spun on its neck as he brought the pipe swiftly across her face, the edge of the pipe cleaving off a chunk of cheekbone. Ooh. Black blood gushed out. It got him, got on her, got on the grass. Dang, this chapter was long. Getting to his feet, Des was about to sprint off toward the highway when he came to a halt just as a teenage boy in a nice black suit raised his arms at him. This one's clothes weren't dated like the others. He wasn't even that gray. The young man must have died just before the rain came. Sorry, man, Des said, and brought the pipe to the ground, holding it like a hockey stick. He allowed the dead teen to get a little closer then, bringing the pipe back. Delivered a slap shot to the kid's knackers. I don't know what that means. The blow so hard it lifted the young man off his feet and sent him onto his back. Des then rounded to the boy's head and brought the pipe down, smashing iron into bone like one driving a tent stake into the ground. I'm getting the hang of this, he said. Billy. He couldn't see her, just a pack of the undead off in the distance, with a few more ambling through the rows on either side toward him. Barely able to breathe, Billy ran in between a couple of trees, then stopped to catch her breath. She spat another wad of blood into the ground, wiped her mouth with her wrist, then walked quickly around to another tree and came to rest against the doors to a mausoleum. Panting, she closed her eyes. Just 1 second, maybe 2, just 1 second. Her chest heaved up and down, each breath feeling as if her lungs had to rise up against 100 pounds. I know that feeling. I'm not that out of shape, am I? She wondered. I am. The tip of her tongue was more numb than painful, and the blood flow seemed to have slowed. She touched it and pulled her finger back, pulled her finger back when the salt of her skin stung the open wound. Someone wheezed behind her, but there was no one there, just a couple of large stone doors. Room? I don't know. Billy yelped as several pairs of dead hands popped out in between the pair of mausoleum doors. She bounced off the wall and backed up a few steps. Gray-green hands, blotched with purple flesh, clawed and grabbed from the crack. She scanned the door and saw the hinge and lock was nearly broken off. The hinge bent so much it allowed a bit of space for these creatures to get their fingers through. Must be cracks in the roof or something, for the rain to have gotten through. That took a few moments, but she realized the mausoleum was getting further and further away. An unsettling feeling rose in her stomach a moment later. She had decided to stop her instinctive backward steps at the same time she bumped into something. Something soft yet with an underlay of bone, and Billy screamed. A shot rang out. Billy ducked and covered her head. The body dropped behind her. Des turned his head in the direction of the gunshot. Joe, he thought with a grimace. I don't need to be there to know you saved her. Fine, he grumbled and smacked the pipe into another of the undead. See you at the bridge. Billy looked up at him, blue eyes wide, pink hair a mess, blood covering her chin. Joe held out his hand to her. You all right? Her hand shook as she extended it to him. When he took her fingers in his, there was a moment there when he realized how small they were. How smooth. How perfect. No, she said softly. When she straightened, she had her hand over her mouth. I already saw it, he said. Let me take a look. She shook her head and pulled away her hand. I don't like it when you look me over. I'm not taking my clothes off for you again. What? What? Is she flirting with him? No, you idiot. She's mad at you. Besides, even if she was, you don't have room for her in your life. Too much at stake as it is. Anyway, what would April think? I just want to see if... Get down. I had to really stop myself from doing an impression of Arnold's character and the thing. Anyway. He pointed the X-09 just past her and took a zombie out, coming in from behind. With a wave of his hand, he said, Come on. Billy didn't move. What's the matter with you? Let's go. She just stood there. She's in shock, he thought. Great. It didn't quite make sense. She'd been in worse. Perhaps it was all finally piling up. He ran over, gave her a shove from behind. Finally, her feet started to move. Des tried the cemetery's front gate. It was chained shut and bound with a padlock. Ugh. He gave it a shake, then climbed over the black metal fence. The Disraeli was a long sidewalk length to the right. He started walking down it. 3 more shots rang out. Joe and Billy ran toward the fence. Billy with a dazed look on her face, Joe pointing the gun every which way and dropping zombies as fast as he could. When they got to the fence, Des debated going over there to help Billy over. Let the hero handle it. He kept walking. Des! Hey, Des! Joe shouted from behind. He just kept going and didn't look back. Okay. That's not cool, Des. You don't do that. Anyway, before I get too much of a distraction going because of all the stuff I have in my room, mainly those over there, Again, I feel like the same complaints I've had, I still have. Pointless drama. Anyway, let me know what you guys think, how you would have done things differently, what you would do in this situation, things like that. And until next time, goodbye everybody.